I want to cross to Washington now and introduce you to a new guest, Bev Turner. She hosts the Late Show Live for GB News in the UK. She does it out of Washington, DC. And last month, she managed to catch up with the president. And for a man who's faced every conceivable question over many, many years, in the public eye, of course, Bev managed to surprise him. Have a look.
I often think, watching you, that actually being a good president is a bit like being a good father.
Yeah.
Tough love, clear boundaries, in the interests of the people that you're looking after. Does it ever occur to you how much the role is like being a father, being a president?
I've never thought of it that way. I can't believe I'm getting a question I've never thought of or never been asked before. If you think about it, I love this country, I love the people of the country, but people do say, what do you recommend for growing your children? And I've seen so many children, I've seen so many brilliant children of brilliant people go bad and become tremendous failures. And I find that so much of it's caused by drugs, alcohol, different substances.
Yeah, as I put to Bev, it's often said that being a good parent is about tough love, and if there's ever been a politician that delivers tough love, it's Donald Trump.
The thing is, Chris, I didn't think that question would land quite so well with him, and we know he's quite sort of braggadocious, don't we? And I thought he might sort of bask in a bit of glory for a minute about what a great dad he is, and he didn't actually, surprisingly. He sort of pivoted to the advice that he gives people when they talk about how to be a good parent. And actually, love him or loathe him, because I know he's a very divisive figure, he has a very successful family. They are so close to him. When you see Donald Trump Jr. and you see Eric talk about their father, they are so loyal to him every single time. And, any of us who has grown-up children would love to think that our kids would defend us in that way, but not everybody's does. So he's done something right, let's be honest.
He sure has, and those children, many of them actually involved in his project, involved in his politics, his political operation and his administration, in fact. When it comes to tough love, though, the issue where Donald Trump has been toughest is the one of border control and illegal immigration and deporting illegal immigrants who are criminals and the like. And the latest incarnation of that has been his incredibly strong language about immigrants into the US from Somalia. Have a look at this.
The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care.
Well, Bev, how is this going down in the US? It's incredibly strong language directed at the populace of a whole nation.
For the MAGA base, this lands incredibly well, and they would say this is precisely what they voted for. They had millions of people coming across the southern border, admittedly, not Somalia, but coming across the southern border under Biden. And so they are thrilled that Donald Trump has actually taken illegal migration down to statistically zero for several months now. I mean, as a Brit, with our problem with illegal migration, we are, many of us, in awe of how he's managed to achieve that. But of course, the language that he uses is very, very divisive. And we did a poll actually on the Late Show Live that I host for GB News yesterday, and we asked the British people, would you like to see more of this sort of rhetoric, more of this language? And the GB News viewers, 99% of them said that they would like to see that kind of language used in the UK. But of course, it's not just about what you say as a leader, it's actually about what you do, and that's much more important. And today, Trump, in fact, yesterday now, Trump has stopped applications for 19 non-European countries, including Somalia and Iran and Eritrea, and countries that he sees as developing third world countries, which do not necessarily produce the kind of people who might be educated, Western, English-speaking, that this government wants to welcome to America. And of course, we watch him as Brits with some fascination.
Absolutely. The UK must be watching with jealousy to a degree. And of course, it's a large part of Nigel Farage's appeal, I would have thought, is his promise to actually get some strength back into border security in the UK. I wanted to venture, though, onto another issue, and that is the ongoing scandal over Jeffrey Epstein. And these pictures we're now seeing of the infamous Epstein Island, nothing really spectacular about the pictures, but they just keep the issue there and provide some intrigue, don't they?
They really do. And in fact, I'm literally fresh off air now, and we've just covered this on the show. And it's very tempting when you see these pictures to start becoming voyeuristic and to be looking for details and clues as to who this man was, who was he really working for. And the pictures are extraordinary. It certainly doesn't look like a luxury villa on a Caribbean island that you might think. It's quite sparsely decorated. There is quite mysteriously a dentist chair in one of the rooms that we might have just seen, with those sort of what look like paper mache masks all around the world, around the walls. It is very, very creepy indeed, and it raises more questions than it answers, actually, this footage. And we look at it like this: there's a wet room with lots of towels. We know famously there was a massage room and massage beds in there. So this is the first lot of images that we've now got, but it won't be the last, I don't think. Yeah,
and you got to remember those victims. Epstein convicted of trafficking in sex, young sex slaves, effectively. You got to remember those victims. Now, let's finish off with something very light-hearted. I think you covered this in your show as well. A raccoon broke into a liquor shop. Tell us about this one.
I think this is my favourite story of the day, Chris. I can't lie. Sometimes the news in Washington, D.C. is very heavy. This is in the state of Virginia, just down the road. A woman who owns the liquor store, an off-licence, as we would call it in England, came in the morning and somebody had a party. Well, it transpires that somebody was a raccoon, and there is the raccoon face down next to the toilet, because he'd obviously knocked bottles off. He'd drunk some of them from the floor, and we've just interviewed actually the animal rescuers. We would call them the RSPCA in the UK, and they were very kind of philosophical about it. They said, well, you know, animals often will go into like vats of maybe fermented fruit, and we often find animals walking around drunk. So apparently they took her and they took her home, and she sobered up. And then when she'd sobered up, she wandered out and they let her go. I like to think she went to like the local McDonald's for a bit of a hangover cure or something. And she's telling all her mates, you're never going to believe the night I've just had. Sit down, guys. I've got a story. But it was a happy ending. She was fine. Apparently she recovered as far as we know. And she's now dining out on her big night out with her friends back over in Virginia State down the road.
Yeah, she'd have a good story to tell, except she can't remember it. In my home state, she would have gone home for a pie floater. Great to catch up with you, Bev. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.